Hello, everybody. Good morning. It's the 24th of October, 2023, and I wanted to wish everyone a wonderful morning. I'm continuing my series in my discussion of art and quotations from people about art, and we're going to start today with the very next quotation. The quote is as follows: "The coming into the presence of a piece of art you truly love causes a tremendous revolution to occur in you." By Robert Henri, 1865 through 1929. And I'll repeat that quote. "The coming into the presence of a piece of art you truly love causes a tremendous revolution to occur in you." Boy, isn't that the truth. I know I myself have run into many pieces of art which I admire and love. It does cause a revolution inside of you. And that could be through music that I'm inspired by. I typically am inspired by pop music or electronic dance music, but I can be inspired by any piece of music. Sometimes it's a piece of opera. Sometimes it is classical music. Sometimes the music doesn't have words, just an instrumental. I'm moved by it. Sometimes it's a movie soundtrack. Hans Zimmer is famous for coming up with a lot of wonderful songs. And they can cause revolutions inside of us. I just feel like I want to share those pieces with other people. I forward links of amazing art pieces to my friends and to my family and to associates all around me because I want them to feel what I'm feeling inside, which is inspiration. It might be love of some kind, or it might be sadness, it might be excitement. And I want to share those emotions with other people. Those emotions have meaning to me. And it's true, it's kind of a revolution. It's October 24th, and so the Halloween season is upon us, and I've been falling in love with fall and autumn and being inspired by artists who also are inspired by the autumn season. I go to these towns nearby like Los Olivos and Cambria, and I walk through the towns, and artisans are sort of stocking their shelves with autumn inspired merchandise. And it's wonderful. I see all these soaps and lotions, uh, towels and scarves and hats. And I mean, I just see how everyone's inspired by the season as it's getting cooler, as the summer is receding and fall is approaching. And it's wonderful. I mean, I do feel an affinity with all of these artists who are, supporting their livelihood, but also expressing parts of their artistic selves through their art about appreciation of the autumnal season. It's not only music, but it's poetry and stories. I've been believe it or not, loving reading Charles Dickens recently. And in fact, Charles Dickens is one of my favorite authors. And I read A Christmas Carol every year. And I go through that story again and again and again. And I find myself inspired by bits and pieces here and there. Charles Dickens and his writing, for me, is an inspiration. It creates a revolution inside of me. The other day, I was meditating on the second ghost, which is the ghost of Christmas Present, who is my favorite character in the story of Christmas carols. Why? Because because Charles Dickens paints the character of the ghost in a way that's incredibly memorable for me. Um, the ghost, basically, it's the second ghost, and Charles Dickens opens an adjacent. Scrooge opens up an adjacent room in his house, and he swings open the door, and he sees in his room this Santa Claus character dressed in just a gorgeous green robe. He's large, and he's laughing, and he's joyous and abundant, and all around him is abundance. Charles Dickens creates this list of things that are around him. It's like cakes and turkey and stews and pudding and desserts of all kinds, fruits, apples, plums, berries. Charles Dickens goes on and on. He talks about the fire in the background, and he talks about the Christmas storm that's outside in the night, with the moon in the background through the window, and this ghost of Christmas present is just so jolly. I think he holds a staff or a flame or something like that, and he's got 2,800 brothers. He's just filled with abundance. He says, "Look upon me, the ghost of Christmas present." And I just love. It's like the pure deity of abundance, if there ever is one. Massively joyful and absolutely generous. And this character inspires me. Why? I have no idea. I just I just am inspired by the character. In the words of Robert Henri, it started a revolution in me. Why I am inspired by this abundant spirit of Christmas, I don't know. I just resonate with it powerfully. And I was, in fact, playing with a little ChatGTP, artificial intelligence, and I asked Dolly 3 to create an image of the ghost of Christmas present, and it's glorious. I'm just blown away, really, by the accuracy in the image of this computer-generated image of the ghost of Christmas present. I just truly loved it, loved gazing upon it, and listening to the story of A Christmas Carol at the same time. I'm in my happy place when I'm inspired by the AI rendition of the Ghost of Christmas Present, inspired by Charles Dickens and his story, A Christmas Carol. I am in the midst of inspiration, particularly if, I've got all the paraphernalia of Christmas around me, like Christmas lights. Maybe I've got a subtle fragrance in the air. Perhaps I'm sipping a cup of chai tea at the same time. That's just Christmas. Why? Why do I care? I don't know. It's a revolution inside me, and I experience joy. And that's what happens when we come into the presence of a piece of art. Yeah, it's the coming into the presence of a piece of art. It's like the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. You walk, onto the Capitol grounds, and you look at the Lincoln Memorial, and you see Abraham Lincoln seated there. It's like, wow, blows you away, right? It's, it's like walking into the museum, into any museum. and it's just inspiring to see, right? The explication of scientific principles, a description of the natural world as it is. And, it's an artistic expression. It's pulling together facts and figures in a creative way that is inspiring and descriptive, that serves a purpose and helps bring clarity to maybe a once obscure concept. There's just something revolutionary about art sometimes. And it can be music or poetry, or maybe it's just a definition in Webster's dictionary. If you think about it, Webster's dictionary is nothing more than a kind of poetry about words and what a word means. And there's something beautiful about it in its simplicity, in its concision, in its accuracy. These accurate representations of words are very helpful. And, it can create a revolution. I know when I was growing up, I grew up a little bit religious, and people on the podium were talking about one of the first things they did is they went into Webster's dictionary. That was like a standard part of a speech. Somebody would, at least when I was growing up, they'd say, well, Webster's dictionary, what does this word mean? There's revolutions that go on in people's minds as people understand just what words mean, right? There's a revolution of understanding when people are confronted. They're coming into the presence of a piece of art, which might even be just a definition in a dictionary. That's a piece of art. The artist or the grammarian, author of the dictionary, Webster or some of his associates, throws together a definition. I'm sure it takes hours and days and weeks to come up with definitions for these words sometimes. Just think about thesaurus, throwing together synonyms for a certain word. That could be an interesting challenge. It's almost like it's a never-ending quest, a never-ending journey to sort of list synonyms of other words. It is definitely a poetic enterprise. And how valuable is that to writers everywhere? And anyway, what is it about this revolution that happens within us when we are confronted with art? It's kind of funny. In America, one thing people love to do is root for sporting teams, particularly the underdog, quite often. And what is it about these sporting teams, football teams, baseball teams, basketball teams? What is it about them? And what distinguishes one from the other? Well, it's art. It's the Dolphins against the Giants, against the Ducks, the Lakers and the Celtics and the Pistons and the Mustangs, right? They're artistic expressions. These are artistic camps, and they're represented by colors and emotions, right? There's imagery, like the Bulldogs, right? And that conjures up certain inspiring virtues and values. And it's interesting how meaningful sporting can be. You think of ESPN, you switch it on, and you almost think nothing of the artistic expression, but it's everywhere. I was watching a a football game recently on ESPN, just briefly for like 5-10 minutes. And I was struck about how well the football game was presented graphically, right? There were definitely graphic artists and illustrators. There must have been an army of them, just organizing the presentation of the play. I mean, we've got the photographers, and we have technologies, different cameras in different positions, probably drone cameras. Who knows what we had out there? Lenses. There are these artists that were throwing together a story on the fly about how a football moves along the playing field, right? And there were graphical depictions of the trajectory of the football on screen, and there were representations about who has the ball when, and players were lit up in certain ways, and there's demarcations on the fields of different colors, and there was just so many graphical representations, and there were factoids that were sort of shown on screen in thought bubbles, and numbers and statistics. And there was this incredible story that was being told to me in real time through artistic expression. It was absolutely artistic expression of these very technical graphic artists and very technical minded statisticians that were throwing together this story on the fly. I was very impressed the way it was pulled together. And then there was the commentator who was narrating the play and throwing in his own artistic expression. It was just, I was surprised about just how much art I was confronted with while watching a football game. And it was, and interestingly, just as there are different teams, there are different themes of artistic expression, from one football team to another. And I just appreciated, what is a sports team anyway, but sort of a group of artists. And even football itself is a kind of art. Sports is a kind of art, and it's beautiful in its way. These players, like, they work out in the gyms, and it takes creativity to put together a football play. And there's trickery, there's strategy, there's tactics, there's knowledge, and you got to throw all these pieces together in an artistic way to make a play come together so that it's successful in the end and you reach your goal. And there's a lot of creativity, and these players are really using their creative and artistic expression to make things happen. And it's beautiful to watch because these players are performing. It's a performance. It's an artistic performance. It's an athletic performance. Very true. But I think it's also an artistic performance as well. And it's just opening my eyes to art that is around the world and causing revolution in people. I mean, think about what happens after a soccer game. Well, one team wins, one team loses, and the team that wins, strangely, starts overturning cars and setting them on fire. I don't know what the connection is between overturning cars and setting cars on fire after winning a game. To me, those two concepts are completely separate. I'm not sure what the connection is between that two. But I guess those are that's artistic expression as well. But my point is mainly that this is a revolution going on. There's meaning that's happening. You know, people are spinning stories. They're spinning their own personal narratives, right, about their winning teams, and they're celebrating in their own way, and which in itself is an artistic expression. Anyway, I guess what Robert Henri is talking about, this inner revolution, is about inspiration. It's about meaning. You know, that's something that art does. It inspires us. It adds meaning to our life, and that in turn creates opportunities for happiness. And that's what it's all about, friends. We're all artists here walking in life, and we're inspiring each other with our art, whether it's at work or at play or in our recreation, where we're reading and watching theater productions. We're being inspired mutually by this revolution that's going inside of us. And aren't we lucky that we get to express it in this world? Anyway, I just want to appreciate that and feel gratitude for all the art that's around us and all the art that inspires and gives meaning to our life. Anyway, that's what I wanted to say, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful 23rd of October, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.